let this Mac flow. This one, hold on. I say I'ma let it. Alright, come on. Alright. Got a drop on this flexin' nigga. He from Tennessee. I had a thought. She be with this shit.
You know, I was watching an interview with Kenya Moore, and this was like, the interview took place like maybe like a year ago, and I guess maybe it popped up because Mother's Day was yesterday. But I watched that interview, and it got me to thinking about the things that I dealt with my mother. And I have been holding back for quite some time about sharing my story and what I've gone through and experienced with my mother, because it's quite touchy, and I'm not going to do it all today. But basically, Kenya was talking about like how her mother sabotaged her and how like she was very like hateful to her. And it got me to thinking about some of the things that I went through with my mother. The sabotage, the hate, and just jealousy, and it's so hurtful to know that we as daughters experience things like that because it's our mother. Like, we want to be loved by our mother, we want to be appreciated, and we don't want to be abused by our mothers. You know what I mean? Like, the things that Kenya was sharing, like, that was just outright sabotage. Like, she didn't want her to progress in life, and I'm not gonna go into it because that's her story to tell, and that's her story that she did tell. But as far as me, I can remember certain things that I had that were taken away because of my mother, lies that were told by my mother in regards to, like, it was just jealousy, things that were taken away that did not have to be taken away, lies that were told that did not even have to be told. There was a particular time where I'm not even going to say like what it was, but at this time I had 2 of them. Wait a minute, was this before I had 2? I can't remember, but I had 2 particular things, and she was so jealous about it. So she ended up taking it, and she sold it. It was rightfully mine. She sold it and said that, oh, it got taken away, but she did it. Another time something got taken away from me, she lied to a company. She lied, and she said, oh, you know, she doesn't do this and she doesn't do that, she's not responsible, or she just lied. And I have always been independent since like I was younger, and I'll go into that and how that was instilled in me in a minute, but that had been taken away from me too. It's like she could not stand for me to have anything. I remember, let me talk about my independence. Okay, so when I was younger, my mother was very abusive, like extremely abusive, to the point where other family members had to step in. I'll share more about this another time in another video, because I really don't want this video to be too long. Other family members had to step in because of the abuse and how bad it was. And then my grandmother ended up getting temporary custody over me. And that was like the best thing that could have happened to me, because if my grandmother would not have stepped in, my life would have taken a turn, and it would have, like, oh my God. I can just imagine like where I would be today if my grandmother would have never stepped in. My grandmother really saved my life. And so it's like my life went into like on a different path, and it was a greater path. And my grandmother instilled certain values into me, one of them being independence, not to depend on, you know, a man or anything like that, to make sure you had your own. Just great values to have. Not to say that you should, you know, you can't, don't misconstrue my words, because you know how I be in the comments and things like that, like, oh, you need a man, this, that, and third. But basically, to have important values, to the values that you need as a woman. And so I took those things, and it allowed me to be a greater version of myself. And and that's one of the reasons why I work so hard, and that's one of the reasons why I am so independent. But for her to lie on me, for her to say certain things about me, and there was always jealousy. She always hated the way that I was independent, how I took care of myself, how I dressed, and how certain men would just be so attracted to me, how they would buy me things, or how they would do certain things without me having to ask, how they treated me as a woman. She hated that, just hated that. It's horrible to know that the person that brought you into this world could be so jealous of you, could be so hateful of you. I even remember when I spoke about how I used to take myself out on trips, you know, just out the country and things like that. I remember one time she sabotaged my trip. It was in this nice resort. And I think I was FaceTiming her or something like that. First of all, she wanted to go on the trip, but she was too afraid. It's something, I don't know. It was, and I offered to pay for it. And we talked about, even if I didn't pay for it, we could have, you know, made other arrangements. But I think we were FaceTiming or something like that. And she sabotaged that whole trip. She found out where I was, made a call. Mind you calling out the country. Made a call to that resort, told them that there was a man in my room. And she had those people come to my room. And they're like, oh, we just want to make sure this, that, and the third, and you're okay. First of all, I'm a grown-ass woman. A grown-ass woman. And the person that was in my room, let's just say, first of all, the person that was in my room wasn't even a man. That was a woman. Doing the turn downs, putting the candy on the sheets and shit, on the pillows, tidying up the room. But let's just say I'm a grown-ass woman. What difference would it make? She sabotaged that whole trip for me. It was horrible. And it was because she could not go. She had been insecure about her weight because of the plane seats and things like that. We talked about that. It was just because I offered to pay for her to go. And it was just like, oh no, well, because of the weight and I don't want to. Then she said, well, maybe we can drive over the ocean. Like, okay. Then she said, well, no, it's just like, I'm just so fearful. I'm just so scared. Okay, well, if you don't want to go, I'm still finna go by myself. If you don't want to go and you feel like you're fearful, you don't want to branch. And that's another thing why she could not stand, because I've always been so bold. I've always been able to venture off and pick up and go and do. Like, I'm not a fearful person. She couldn't stand that. Because I have, like, ambition. And I have that get up and go. And that's one of the things that my grandmother would tell her, to have some get up about yourself. You know how the old folks would say, why don't you have some get up about yourself? That's what she used to tell her. Why don't you just, you know, just have some get up about yourself. Don't be so lazy and things like that. And I would notice that a lot of things that she would say about me were actually true about her. That's one of the things I learned about narcissists. They love to tell you and other people, they project their characters on to the next person. They love to say, oh, this person is this and this person is that. This person doesn't do this person doesn't do that. This person is this way, they believe this way, they think this way, but it's actually confessions about them. I've dealt with that for a large portion of my life. And seeing other people going through what I have gone through just makes me feel seen. It makes me feel heard to know that there are some mothers out here that are actually jealous of their daughters. There are actually mothers out here who will really sabotage their daughters just out of jealousy. Just out of jealousy, their hatred, and the way that they look at themselves. And believe it or not, some mothers will actually do the comparing and the contrasting between themselves and their daughters. Some I've even dealt with like situations to where my mother will put me and my siblings like against one another. It's always been, I'll go into that later on, because child, we'll be here for a very long time. We will be here for a very long time. But I have been reflecting over this past Mother's Day, and seeing that video where Kenya was talking about her mother, where she just wanted to be heard by her mother. Her mother would not listen to her, so she had to go and play this tape recorder. And she came in and she talked, and then she talked about the sabotage and the pageant and things like that. It's sad to know that mothers would be so jealous of their daughters not wanting them to go forward in life. You see this in not even just our mothers. We see this in a lot of women. There's so much jealousy in certain women. Some women can't control their emotions. They see something within another woman and they outright just want to take it from them. They just want to destroy them and tarnish their reputations. And so lies are told, damaging lies are told about that woman. Damaging actions are taking place, and we are experiencing hurt. We're experiencing things that we should not experience, just off of the strength of another woman being hateful towards us because of something that we can't control, whether it's a talent that we have and they wish that they had it, whether it's a characteristic that we have and they don't see it within themselves. You see what I'm saying? We should not have to be abused. We should not have to deal with the aftermath of someone being hateful or jealous or just, it's not our fault. People need to learn how to control their emotions and seek the help that they need. You know what I mean? But I just, that video, it caused me to reflect on some things. And I guess, here we are now.